Heyo! Welcome to Channel 64 Chats, a monthly podcast with a rotating cast of Channel 64 members that we've made into this community event, later to be posted to the Channel 64 YouTube as a sort of low-key podcast. For anyone watching on YouTube, this was recorded live in the Channel 64 community Discord, so if you want to hang out with us in the chat and ask questions, make sure you follow that link below to join us. And for those here, we're so glad you are. We've made this a Discord stage so that we could share our screen or screens with you. And you can chat with us and ask questions in the stage chat as the podcast goes along. So today we've got myself, Mega, who is looking lovingly over at me. and Tarek as well. Wow. Awkward.
Hello.
Hi, everybody. How are you guys today?
Very close on your face, but I'm doing well.
Good. What have you been up to recently?
I have been letting my inner derp out, and I've been building some pretty derpy things lately, but I've been having a lot of fun with it, so.
I've been talking with some people lately about how like all of the things I liked when I first started Hermitcraft, and so like that involved the community and watching them like interact with each other as friends, but also the shenanigans. And I've been thinking about how I want to do more shenanigans. It doesn't come naturally to me. I'm very one-track minded, where I'm like, I need to work on my episode, and here's point A, here's point B, here's point C. How do I get there? And I need to be better about the JKLs and whatever. JK. I did that on purpose. But you know, like the sidetrack things where they're just fun.
I'm not going to honor that with a knee slap, even that just hurt.
You know what? You're lucky I don't have the sound effects. I can make my own happiness.
Okay, Dad.
Yay! And Mega, what have you been up to lately?
So since my real life has been pretty busy lately, I just moved. I didn't have too much time for Minecraft, but I tried to do some new solo projects, but the next days or weeks, I gladly come back to Channel 64 and will start more shenanigans.
Shenanigans, just what we need.
Yes.
So let's see. Myself, I am kind of taking a break for the holidays. I am not necessarily like a break as much as I'm just not putting the pressure on myself to make content. I'm probably still going to do it because I'm struggling to like find motivation without putting the pressure there. But like, it's kind of a weird dynamic. But I've got so much holiday stuff as a parent going on that I'm trying to relax, but relaxing is hard.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
It really is. Why is relaxing work? It shouldn't be work. I put so much.
That's a topic for a different conversation that I could really delve into.
It really is. Write that down.
That's if you relax as a adult, it's just not doing your work. Just you just move the work you have to do to it later.
Our lovely generation has been raised to feel that relaxing is being lazy.
Yeah. But yet we're playing Minecraft. Yeah. So like, what have we done to ourselves?
We took the thing we started out with to do for relaxing, we ourselves have turned into work.
We have.
That's how yeah.
All right, we are going to put a pin in that because that is a fantastic topic. Legitimately, Tarek, if you want to write that down or DM that to me, we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah.
Because today we are going to talk about the holidays and holiday projects. But first, we're going to do our little meeting recap, but we haven't had the meeting yet. So it's a meeting pre-cap or a heads up. So firstly, talking about in the meeting, we're going to be talking about community focus. We've kind of grown as Channel 64 through different phases. We hit the like the family phase where we were so small that like it felt like you were hanging out with family. And as I've grown and learned and the community's grown, I've learned that's kind of toxic thing to do because it makes it difficult to approach issues. We'll leave it at that. It's kind of hard to explain in my head, but we're at the point where Yeah, we're at the point where we're bigger than that. We are a community, we're going to have people with different levels of interest and different levels of play. We've got people in the chat all the time and people that are playing for fun in their free time or just have a loud house and can't always join in chat and are fine with that. And so we're learning different ways to incorporate that community aspect and respect that. And so that's something I want to talk about in the meeting today. But beyond that, we have the holiday event stuff, which is going to be, we have a stream day coming up. We had a stream day for Halloween in this lovely district here, and it went really well. And so that's going to be the basis of today's talks, as well as what we've got in the future, which is a holiday stream day or a Christmas stream day, which is going to be December 30th. We've kind of got it in between New Year's and in between Christmas so that we've got the most time to get our builds done. But also that it's not necessarily right on the holidays as we've got things going on. In general, this time of year is very busy, so we did the best we could.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like everybody's got their families, everybody's got, their IRL responsibilities and whatnot. So making sure that we're being kind to ourselves in time management.
Absolutely. In other words, don't stress yourself out about being there. We'd love it if you can. If not, catch up on streams when you have the time. The holidays are crazy.
Yep.
But yeah, so and that's where we can start, I guess, is why didn't we have holiday events in Channel 64 before this season?
Honestly, supporting cast was a huge difference.
It really was. Yes.
Yeah, totally.
Having some people that, well, it's also like having, so some fresh mindsets coming in and saying, hey, I really want to do this, but then they're willing to kind of take charge on it as well to really help that, because when you're a content creator, there's so much that goes on in the back end that it's really hard to just do those spur of the moment projects. But if somebody's taking on the whole organization aspect of it, then it makes it a lot easier to be able to, like, hey, all I have to do is actually do the build. I don't have to coordinate. I don't have to set up the whole area. It makes it a lot more feasible. So having that supporting cast has just been absolutely wonderful. So
Absolutely. It's a lot different of an ask to ask somebody to make a snowman or make a Christmas build than it is to say, okay, here, plan everything behind this whole Christmas district.
100%.
There's a lot of, on a whole this year, I've been really focused on how we can make great ideas come to life, but also the logistics of it. And so the main reason for holiday events not happening in my mind before now was like, you'd have a couple people that are excited for it and you say, that's great. Who's going to do the work? How do we balance that out?
Yep.
And then making sure, because, and I don't mean this in any negative way, because, again, holidays are very stressful, let alone trying to put a timeline on it. But not everybody built here in the Halloween district, and that's okay. You can't expect everybody to hop on a project. And so we're just now starting to hit the numbers. And like Tarek said, the supporting cast has offered us a great opportunity here because they can take on some of those roles that may take a little more investment than what a content creator is ready to commit to.
Yeah,
or has the time to commit to. That's another big thing.
Yeah, there's also the part that you already mentioned, Aaron, that you are, as a content creator, always thinking about what you're doing next for your next episode. So you're always kind of focused on what you're doing next in the game. And then suddenly someone comes around and says, hey, let's do a completely different project, like a real big one. And if you haven't planned that way before, it's really hard to squish that into your already planned projects that you have going.
Yeah, definitely 100% agree with that. It's, I think it comes down a little bit to the point you made earlier too, of just that spontaneity where, a lot of us plan quite vigorously what we're going to do in the next episode. And it can make it really tough when it's like, hey, my plan is, I'm going to build a super smelter and then I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do this. But then somebody comes and drops this great idea on you, and suddenly you have to push all of that either back or say, no, I'm not going to be part of this. And something I'm personally trying to do is be a lot more available for those spontaneous things where it's like, hey, you know what? If the super smelter doesn't get built this episode, you know what? It's fine. Because I would rather at the end of the day go and hang out with my friends and have some fun and some laughs than try to make sure that I'm, quote unquote, on track with my episode. So I'm trying to stay a little bit more fluid that way, but it's a huge adjustment for sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. There's
I also,
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I also tried, especially in this season, to focus way more on the shenanigans and the stuff with other people. So most of my episodes have a lot of time actually spending with the other members of the server. And in this season, actually, so far that I haven't really built Sand so much. So I really have to
Yeah,
get
but
that
that's
going.
okay.
Yes, but like that is the fun part. Like with the other players doing stuff that you wouldn't have done otherwise. That is what makes
yeah.
the game special and makes the difference.
Yeah. And then audiences will kind of grow attached to friendships as well. Like the more you kind of hang out and create, inside jokes, but the audience is in on those inside jokes, it makes the community a little bit bigger because when that inside joke happens, the audience is like, hey, I get that one. And it can really create a much larger sense of community as well. But having that kind of genuine personality, not clash, compatibility can just make a huge difference. Like I know, like at the beginning of the season, Arrington, you and I were hanging out quite a bit.
Yeah.
I can't remember the nickname. I think it
was-
was Fall, who's in the chat right now, who gave the nickname, but I can't remember it for the life
I was
of me.
thinking
But
Tarrington.
I think it was Tarrington. Yeah,
Makes-
something along those lines. But like having that kind of little snippet come out of the community is just so wholesome, and I loved it so very much.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of self-imposed like timelines. Because there is a difference there between single player where you've got an infinite amount of time as long as you want to play. But we don't have that here. We've got a time limit that we've got to set up and somewhat figure out. And that could be a whole nother conversation because we're still figuring out how to do that best. But like to end the season at the same time that everybody else is able to finish their base, that they're not fully losing like passion and excitement, because unfortunately, like that's not to any fault of any single player, but like you can kind of tell, you can tell when people are finishing their bases, when they're losing that passion for projects. And so making sure that that's on time and works, and then also you're finishing your base in that timeline while also making time for shenanigans is and holiday projects to wrap it back around to where we're talking about. But making time for those
100%.
things.
It's one of those challenging things where we're the little content creators right now, but like we're figuring a lot of this out on our own, and I feel that makes it a lot more valuable to us because getting handed something on a silver platter is great in the moment, but in the long run it's not as satisfying. Whereas if you work together and learn together, you're going to create those friendships that they're going to last for a long time, but we're also going to have all those experiences and learn together. Like the amount of time we spend in Discord just sharing tips and tricks, hey, like this is what I did for a build, or this is how I did an edit, like whatever the case, we're sharing, we're growing together as a community of creators, and it's just amazing. I love it.
Yeah, we're also very good at like writing that down. There's no book on how to make an SMP, but I feel like, and this is going back to me getting all excited about paperwork and stuff, but like I feel like we have our recordings of our meetings, we've got chats, we've got all these discussions, and we're really working on setting up like, and again, it's what worked for us, maybe not everybody else, but we're setting up a pathway of here's how to run an SMP, and here's what works, here's what we loved, here's what we learned. And we're 2 almost 3 years into this project, like we've learned so much, and it's so exciting to be able to have that and share that.
Yeah.
So what you're trying to tell us is that there's no book on how to run an SMP, but you are writing one
Yet.
now.
I mean, I'm not writing one, but I think every SMP has their own journey, and I like that ours is more open.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean
Yeah.
anybody's searching out this information, but it's here if they wanted to, you know? I'm sure if
Well,
Yeah.
that's not true. People have searched out that information from us, right?
that's
We've had conversations with other SMPs being like, hey, like we see that you're doing all of these things and we want to do it too. How, why? Like, and they start asking all these questions, and Arrington and I can talk on that for hours.
we did.
But a lot of it comes.
I think
We
about
did. Yeah, I
3
think
with our most recent meeting.
was it 3 hours? Oh my
I
God.
think
Anyway.
it was.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Anyway, but like a lot of it does come down to the people. Having people that are compatible, work together, have either similar styles or can overlap styles. That is a big thing. Where if you have a whole bunch of people where one person is just pure chaos and the other one needs everything to be completely controlled, they're not going to mesh. But we have this really great balance of people that kind of go from one end of the spectrum to the other, but we can all kind of complement each other in some way, shape, or form, and that is huge. We don't have that toxicity in our community. We don't want it. We don't. None of us want it, from my understanding. Like nobody wants to come on and be worried that their base has been TNT'd. So that's why we're all here, because it's quote unquote a safe space, but it's a safe space where we can truly be ourselves, and that's probably the most wholesome thing.
Right. We need
like
to get back on topic, but like again, it goes back to we all started, everybody that joined on the groundwork, the framework of here are the rules, regulations, the policies, like you agreed not to TNT somebody else's base,
Mm-hmm.
Um
Mm-hmm.
and so the other side of that, like you were saying, is it's kind of at this point we've got I don't know if this is a good or bad word, but I like it, a curated community. We've picked each person out one by one until we've got this community that we're really proud to be a part of.
I think that's a key thing, is that we're proud.
Absolutely.
That I think is the biggest thing. So, but yeah, going back on track.
Yeah.
Yee!
Who knew having Tarek here on chats would just make it even more Arrington admin chats. But let's see. Okay. So, in regards to preparation though, and meetings and all of these things that we do, I think we can roll right into the fact that we did start preparing early. I think this year, Binish specifically reached out and was like, "Hey, I'd really like to do a holiday event." And he reached out early enough that we had time. It happened in a meeting, and we talked about this with enough time that we could make it happen. Ben took that very first leadership role, which is the next part of it, is we had somebody in charge. There was somebody that you could go to and say, hey, here's what I'd like to do. Where can I put it? What's going here? Building pathways. Building pathways is a huge part of it. Obviously, like here you can see we've got, paths leading around everything, and people kind of just put their builds in between the paths. There was open discussion of here, I'd like to use this hill. I'd like to build over there, or here's a little plot. And so all of that really worked its way out from having leadership and preparation early on.
Yeah, definitely. Having that kind of little semblance of structure around helps a lot. It's because it gives people kind of an outline of what's going on, so they can kind of, if they have an idea, they kind of know where they can put it. Or if you're just simply looking for inspiration, you can be like, hey, here's a little plot. And then when you see it, you can say, oh, you know what? I could do this here. Like I could build a maze, or I could build a little game, or the little slime pit right behind you there. Like there's so many little things that just come purely out of that spur of the moment in the moment. And I think that's one of the big things that a lot of people forget, is a lot of this is almost terrain based. picking out our don't want to do any spoilers here, but like I spent quite a bit of time looking for a potential Christmas area, and I feel like now that we've kind of got that nailed down, a lot of people are starting to get ideas just by hanging out in the area, and that really helps.
So that's further down my line, but let's hop there right now. What did you look for in picking out the area?
Snow was the first thing.
Fair enough.
Because I don't want to place a whole lot of snow, so let's have existing snow, make it easier.
Right.
But then it also wanted to be a little bit of a dynamic area, but also similar to the Halloween area, you do want it to be a little bit closed off, so there is kind of like a natural border, and it just doesn't feel like it's just going to sprawl on forever and ever and ever.
There it is.
So having that kind of not really confining, but confining at the same time of having that space. It's like, okay, everybody, we've got this chunk of, we're going to call it 100 by 100 blocks, and this is the area we're going to use. So we got to kind of play and work together to make something magical out of this space, and we've proved that we can do it with the Halloween district. So now it's that time where, hey, you know what? Let's do it again, and let's take everything we've learned, either what went well or what didn't go well, and let's take that information and make it better in the Christmas district. So a lot of people are working very hard already, and I'm really excited for what's going to happen over there.
Yeah, I feel like natural borders really sets up holiday districts for success. Because, if we built in a plains, no matter how big or small, it wasn't going to feel finished. And so we did this in a way that this area feels finished because it's got these natural walls, but then it's not closed off either, because over here you can see it wraps around the outer edge, and still the whole area to me feels finished. And that's what mattered the most to prepping the Halloween district. And then we took that knowledge that what worked, and like I said, Tarek did the same for the Christmas district. It is also very similar to this in that it has natural borders, but also has the ability, like Minecraft, we've always got the ability to go up, to go down, to go in a mountain, in a cave. Limiting your options opens some creativity.
I think it forces creativity.
Yes, that's a much better.
You have to think differently. It's like, hey, I've got a square, and now I'm going to take the square and I'm going to do something with it. Whereas if you just have, well, I'll use a slightly different analogy. You have one piece of Lego, and that little one piece of Lego is going to inspire a build. But if you just look at the entire bin of Lego, all you see is a sea of Lego. You don't know where to start. So it's finding that first piece that's going to trigger the chain reaction is really key.
Absolutely. And so going back to kind of assigning leadership, we talked earlier about how the intentions for a great area, a great idea are there. We have a lot of those. We're all creative people. And so a lot of our meetings are fielding great ideas where it's like, hey, I'd love to do this. And it's like, that is great. How can we do that? Who would do this part of it? Who would do that part? And so, again, we talked earlier about how having somebody who is a content creator, like that adds a lot of extra work. And so enough can't be said about how much extra work Binish did on top of his already crazy workload to make sure that this area happened. I'm umming a lot. But from there, we went and took that idea, what worked, and we've expanded that to the idea that if we have supporting cast members who are interested and able, it doesn't add as much to, they're not making content on top of things, but if they're interested in helping build paths and guide the holiday districts, it really opens up a lot of ability for us to build on top of, be creative, while also taking all the stress and pressure and added responsibility off.
Oh yeah, like I think Ben really took the lead on the Halloween district, but then Liv, Awesome, and Lucy from the supporting cast really jumped in with both feet and really helped support and kind of keep things moving along as well, which really, I think overall the three of those really helped nail down this Halloween district and made it what it is.
Absolutely. We can't say enough about how much that helped guide the
Yeah.
process. And then the extension of that, it's happening with the Christmas district as well. Um, they're helping guide some of the paths and the things that, you know, whether we make this into content or not, it doesn't make great content making paths and like planning out a district,
Mm,
but it takes a lot of time. And so
yeah.
balancing that has been excellent.
Such an underrated work. It takes a lot of time, and
Mm,
the audience isn't really seeing anything of it. They just see the finished product or like
yeah.
the build time lapse, something along those lines.
Yeah.
And
I think a lot of it comes down to, without those roads and pathways and some semblance of organization, if somebody was to, hop on the world download when we're done here, making sure that the audience can still find their way around is key. Because I've been on some world downloads where you're like, I want to go visit this person's base, and you just can't find it because there's no semblance of organization, and that can make it really, really tough as well.
Absolutely, which is something I think we can definitely still learn and improve on. I think there's opportunities to make sure that whether it's command block teleporters for the world downloads or like even just a book
Mm.
somewhere with all of the coordinates, um, there's some improvement to be done there. Let's not talk about how I still haven't released the world download for season 2. It is done and available. I just got to do all the admin behind it.
Edmonton,
I
shame.
am behind. I apologize. In my defense, no one specifically asked for it yet, and so it's fallen short on the list of things to do.
That's fair. That's fair.
And we also did have the world open for the tour, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, actually, that almost is better in a way because it means that somebody doesn't have to download the world and install everything and figure all that out because there's a lot of people that don't really know that side of Minecraft. So having it be available on a server for X amount of time really is going to help as well because then people can just, hey, here's the IP, I can log in, I can go explore, and I can look at what I want to look at, and then I can, pitter patter from there. So it's kind of a good thing as well. So
Yeah, it's definitely a balance of what you're looking for. If you're just looking to explore and wander around, that's more than enough. And that's mostly what I end up doing is just kind of checking places out and then I,
yeah.
I don't go back. So let's see. The next thing we can kind of talk about here is games, presents, like what kept the Halloween district entertaining and what are we taking from that into the next area?
so for me, I wasn't part of building any of since Halloween isn't really a thing in Germany and wasn't really fitting into my schedule at all. But for me, the most entertaining part after guys all built this amazing stuff was all the little details. There was so much stuff to see and find, and it was just interesting to look behind every corner. Everywhere was something to.
Absolutely. And that you said to find too, because the other side of that is, we had the most well, I shouldn't say the most simple games because that feels like it's underwhelming, but I think what shocked me the most in the Halloween district in general was how much fun it was to play some really simple games and how much community like in the stream day it added a lot of content and excitement. Um Even though they weren't crazy like difficult or wild games, we essentially played hide and seek with the candy. We played the tag game with Archie. Archie sat us all in a room and read fortunes. Like
Mhm.
some of these things were small and simple. The mazes, like they're not complicated, but they were really fun and added a lot of fun content for that stream day.
And I always love mazes since I'm always completely lost.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I'm like the worst person for a maze.
I was thoroughly confused in Oliver's. Um, but going on past that though, I think another thing we learned in this stream specifically was having a stream helper, having somebody in the background um who helps guide along the streams, who helps kind of be there and be available to add and like go get resources. Streamer brain is a real thing. It's so hard to focus on ideas, and so um having somebody there to help support your stream was fantastic.
Yeah.
Tarek.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. No, it was a lot of fun. And yeah, I know firsthand that streamer brain is 100% a big thing, and it can make it really tough. Especially if you start feeling a little bit of pressure, you can start to not panic, but kind of panic in a way, being like, "Oh my god, what am I going to do next?" Da, 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 da. So having that kind of almost behind the scenes co-host slash admin type role can really help kind of keep things moving along. The example I'm going to use is for Peep Stream. They wanted to go do some ancient city raiding. Well, locating the ancient cities and digging down to the ancient cities is not entertaining. So by going ahead and kind of making a little bit of a follow the trail kind of book, and then getting all of that kind of admin work done out of the way, enabled Peep to just go from one city to the next and keep that, just the silly content of, getting jump scared by wardens and running for your life and getting killed by the wardens and just having fun, but was able to kind of keep that moving along at a steadier pace versus having, hey, we're going to raid an ancient city, and then 30 minutes later, oh, we found another one. Let's dig down to it now. It just kind of kept the momentum going on the stream, which for the streamer means that you're just absolutely exhausted when you're done because you're just up at level 10 the entire time. But for the viewer, we found that it was really, really enjoyable because there wasn't that super low time where it's just, hey, I'm just digging it one by one straight down. Let's hope I don't hit lava. Right. So it definitely was a lot of fun. I had a hoot with it. I'd love to do it again and just kind of be able to keep things going. So
Yeah, we had a kind of first example of it with the dragon fights. We kind of stumbled into it with the dragon fights because the reality is the dragon fight is kind of boring at this point. And so we found ways to make it interesting. And so we had people on the server like getting bees and getting tiny horses and crazy things like that. But in the end, it added a lot. And so the other side of that too is like even something simple. I know my stream came up and I didn't have any, I had some backup ideas, but essentially I was like, well, I'll do some netherite mining. Even though earlier in the stream we talked about how much fun it would be to go on a raid, having Tarek there just to be like, maybe we should do the raid. Like in hindsight, so much better, so much more entertaining. But in the moment, I'm just trying to keep moving to the next thing and keep that momentum. So rather than stuttering around trying to figure out what to do, I thought, well, this was my backup plan, even though a better option was right there. So having Tarek there for that was fantastic. It is definitely a role that we hope to keep up in the future or events or stream days in general. Having somebody in the stream helper kind of role, the stream support, that's actually a lot better. I'm gonna write that down.
yeah, I think streamer support or
Yeah.
somebody there just to counteract that streamer brain. So
Yep.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Teamwork makes
100%.
the dream work. Stream support role.
Yep. It also helps, kind of keep conversation going at times as well, because streaming is not easy. You have to literally sit there and talk to yourself, and that can be very challenging for a lot of people, myself included. So having that person that you can kind of hang out with, have a conversation with, so you're not just sitting there going, row, row, row your boat. Oh, look, a dolphin. Row, row, row your boat. Now you can have some actual banter and conversation. You can do those silly things. You can get punched off a cliff and jump scare people. You can suddenly open up this whole world of possibilities.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of sides to streaming too. There are people that enjoy that, and at the very least, I think all of our streamers should be prepared for owning your own stream, making sure things are happening. But especially in the role of like stream days and stream events and stuff, it's fantastic. And even when it's not, if you're able to do a stream with somebody, it really takes the pressure off. I know for the longest time when I started streaming, I think most of my streams were co-streams with Jess, just because I wasn't fully comfortable. I needed somebody to talk to. I had backup cards for questions and things, which is
I
probably
remember your cards.
yeah, it's probably honestly why we're here doing this now. Because on some level, having those interview kind of questions and stuff really led into this.
Yeah.
But having that stream support is a huge thing. And then that led to Jess eventually trying streaming on his own because he had been in my streams.
Yep. Yeah. Just got that little boost of confidence there, but also by hanging out and streaming, we've also created some of those just like silly little inside jokes and stuff like that, like playing Flang from the first time we went ancient debris mining together.
Yeah.
And that just became like an inside joke between a bunch of people. It's like every time you find an ancient debris, you say clang clang. Like I still do it when I'm on my own. It's ridiculous. But it's just one of those little things that like, I'm digging around and it's like, hey, ancient debris, clang clang, and I just get a smile on my face because it reminds me of, that good old time when, we first started hanging out back in season 1
right.
years ago. And it's just wholesome and fun and yeah.
Well, and like you said, it's those little bits that kind of carry through and become a part of our culture, maybe like our community culture. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. They become those little inside jokes with community. So like anybody that's been around since season 1, can remember that potentially and just be like, oh yeah, like they do this silly little thing where like every time they find ancient debris, they say clang clang. I even think you've got it on your soundboard now, don't you?
I do. I don't think it works very well anymore, but
still, like it's one of those things where like we'll be out and about and suddenly you'll hit the button or a button and suddenly all of us are laughing because of whatever little phrase just popped up, right? And that's why we do this. That's why we hang out together because we're friends and we want to have fun and we want to laugh and have that awkward little escape from our real life responsibilities where we can just tune the world out and just actually have some fun with some people we like hanging out with. So
at the end of the day, anything we can do to take that pressure off, to make the holidays and holiday events more enjoyable, we're going to do it. And so that's why, again, we're learning as we go. We're figuring out these steps and methods that are making holidays something that in the past seasons we never considered because, again, we didn't have the capacity, we didn't have the people, we had the ideas, but we didn't have enough intention to say, okay, but this person could do that, this person could do that. And then on top of that, if somebody says, I'm going to put that in my episode, like you've just put a deadline on your episode, which is so much more stressful.
100%.
So I know on a personal level, I'm not locking in any Christmas episode. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but for me, I'm just going to enjoy the holidays and I'll do the holiday stream, which I absolutely adored the Halloween one. So I am very excited for this season.
Yeah.
Which again, coming up December 30th. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Be there. It's very exciting. Are there any spoilers that anybody knows or wants to share for that? For Christmas and the holidays? In that case,
not that I can think of now.
No spoilers yet. I have spoiler. For anybody that has surprisingly been around since season 1. My intention was to build a ski resort kind of mountain. Against my better judgment, I have made the ski resort ice boat path down the mountain, and it's so cool. I'm so excited. It's gone so much better than I expected. Be there or be like this little skeleton, sad and all alone with his cake. Not really. He's happy.
No.
That's a happy Ben.
No.
Wasn't that Ben's
No.
birthday?
What game are we playing?
Minecraft.
Yeah.
Be there, be
What do all the-
square. Got it.
There you go.
I'm slow. Fall. Very important question. Is there going to be a Christmas special that is a musical? I don't know if it's a musical, but there has been some talks about a play. I haven't been first and foremost involved in that as much as it was discussed during the meeting, so we'll see if that comes to pass yet. There's a lot of planning and stuff coming up into the holidays, hopefully, but I don't know if there's any musical bits.
I mean, you just have to imagine it is already a lot of work to plan an episode. Then it is even more stressful to plan an episode within a holiday, as we just discussed the whole holiday events and making an area for that. And now on top of that, someone also want to write a musical about it.
Right?
So it's even more workload, and it's a lot.
It's a lot of fun. It's very goofy. One of these days we will get.
I think there's a couple complications with musicals as well. Is that you need somebody who's musically inclined, because you can't just take a classic Christmas carol or song because of copyright restrictions. So you basically have to write a song.
That's a very good
potentially point. Add lyrics, and then choreograph people and whatnot. It is a lot of work, and people with that kind of mentality and notion typically aren't content creators online. That they'd be an IRL content creator, actually doing music and whatnot, whether it's a passion or it's their real life responsibilities. But that's a big undertaking, and I know I am not musically inclined at all. We do have a couple cast members that are, but again, that's just a huge amount of responsibility. So it's definitely something we can potentially look into, but I think being December 2nd, that would be a lot of pressure on ourselves to make that happen. So
I'm never gonna say no, but I like writing the music, but I am very not musically inclined. So one of these days, we'll see. Maybe.
Yeah. If somebody was to submit maybe their own work that we were allowed to use, that would enable us to kind of get that jump start. But yeah, having the free time to basically write a Christmas carol is well, I wouldn't even know where to begin because I'm not musically inclined. So
yeah.
And so then the last question, I guess, is what is this? What is the chats? What does everything mean for Channel 64 as a whole? I mean, short answer is hopefully we continue to do more holiday events or events in general. Looking at more options. We're learning bit by bit how to efficiently and effectively run events like this. And so, again, with the supporting cast, any willing and able participants, we're able to do a lot more. We can't thank them enough for all they've brought to the server. It's been fantastic.
100%.
Yeah, totally.
But from there, I think we might call it a little early today. We'll go prep for a meeting and all that. So I think that's all the time we have for today. A reminder for anyone watching on YouTube that this was recorded live in the Channel 64 community Discord. So if you want to join us in the future and ask questions, make sure you follow that link below to join us. We'll see you next time.
Love you, bye.